Okay, so this lecture will be about the VI editor. I usually call it VI, some people call it VI. It's up to you. VI is fine. This is chapter 4 from the textbook. First look at VI. Okay, so once again, this is the first look at VI. There's one more chapter. I don't think it's the next one. It might be the one after. Chapter 4 looks at editors in general, and so we'll do a little bit of that and then quickly go into how to use VI. Okay, so the basic concepts about operations with the VI editor explained, along with the different modes of the VI editor. Use of memory buffers. Some people like it. I tend to not use it so much unless it's really necessary. The process of opening a file for editing, it's pretty straightforward. So you type in VI and then the file name. Once you're editing a file, you can save the file once you're done and then quit. Okay. So what exactly is an editor? Most of you have probably used Notepad if you're on a Windows system, or TextEdit, I think, is the editor on Mac OS X. And this is basically raw text files. That is, there's no formatting like you would have in Microsoft Word. So the kinds of editors that we're going to use are basically very simple editors that do no formatting. So they don't do anything like Word, like making things bold, for instance. That's not something that we will do in editors. Okay, so files may contain just simple notes. Program source code is the main thing that we're interested in. So we'll use text editors for program source code. So you can think of an editor as being a very basic or watered down vanilla sort of word processor with no capability of making things, for instance, bold or italic or things like that. Okay, so there are generally speaking, there are two kinds of editors. Line editors, where you start up the editor and you edit one line at a time, and most of the time you can't see what you're editing. On the other hand, besides line editors, there are screen editors. And screen editors basically display part of the text that's in a file, and that's the part that you can edit, and you can move around in the file and make changes. Okay, so there's quite a few editors in Linux. I have to check and see if I installed some of these, but VI is definitely there. That's the main one that we will be using. There are others. For example, ED is the original line editor. You have something like Edit, I think, in Windows. If you open up a command window, command shell, and type in Edit, you probably still see the original line editor. And ED is, I think, the same thing, but in the Unix side. There's a slightly more sophisticated editor called EX, which is just a little bit more complicated than ED, but they're both line editors, and I think this is supposed to say ED. ED and this should say ED and EX are line editors. A little bit more complicated than these line editors is VI. VI stands for Visual Screen Editor. And then Emacs is way more complicated, and it's a little bit hard to learn. If you can learn it, a lot of people in computer science are Emacs aficionados. So if you want to, go ahead. I'm not even sure that we have Emacs on the live DVD that I'm going to give you, or have given you. Okay. Let's take a quick look. Here's our command prompt again. So how do you start these editors? You don't go to a menu or anything. You just start these things right from the command prompt, and they will run in the terminal. So for example, let's see if ed is there. Just type ed return, and you can't really tell if it's working or not. So if you come into a situation like this, you just hit Control-C, and it looks like ed is running, and I have no idea how to use it. So I'm going to Control-D. That'll get me out of it. So you can get into a little bit of trouble if you start up an editor and you don't know what to do about it. For EX is a little bit more complicated than ED, and once again it's a line editor, but it's not one that we want to use. I think we can. Alright, so I just guessed that we can type in Q return and quit, and you can try it again. I'm going to type EX, hit return or enter, and it says entering EX mode. And you can, if you want, you can play around with it, but I'm not going to. I'm just going to type in Q and enter, and it gets me out. Good. Let me see. There is a quick way to check if a command is installed on the system without actually running it. And the way to do that is to say which. So you can do which ed, and it tells me, okay, there's an ed in that folder called bin, which stands for binary. So these are just commands. The which command tells you where you can find it. You might be able to find it. Even if which doesn't find it, doesn't mean it's not there. But if it is, which does find it, means it does mean it is there. Okay, so EX is in /user/bin. So what does that mean? We'll get to that later. So these things tell me that these commands are installed. Let's just check if VI is installed. Sure enough, there it is. Let's try Emacs. I'm not really sure if it's... Nope, guess it's not. It's one of those things that's very nice to have. It's very easy to install. If you have a network connection, it just takes a few minutes. But let's skip it. Okay, so now that we know that VI does exist on the system, how do you run it? All you do is, for the very simplest way to run it, you just say VI and hit enter. And this is the screen that you will typically see. If you want to make sure that you can quit before you do anything, here's the easy way to quit. You type in colon, so that's colon, and type in Q and hit enter. It gets you out. So once again, VI, enter to start, and it actually says right here, type :Q, enter to exit. So if you see this helpful screen at the very beginning, then you're in good shape. You know what to do. You say :Q, enter, we're done. Okay, let's go back to our document. So the VI editor is a screen-oriented text editor. It's available on most Unix systems, and that's really why we are focusing on VI, because it's there on just about any Unix system. If you take your Mac OS X computer, open up the terminal, hit VI, I'm pretty sure it'll be there. Although these days the Mac OS X is having fewer and fewer of these commands available, I think VI should still be one of those things that should be there. Okay, so VI, although it's based on a line editor, it's possible to use EX commands, VI is a visual editor that it takes up the entire terminal. There's a couple of different versions we'll use. There's actually more than that are listed here. There's a tutor version which we have on our live DVD, but it's not described in the book. There is the view editor, so all that means is that you can type in view and you get the same thing, but the thing is, Vue works as a read-only editor. That is, you cannot edit, you cannot actually change things. I'm going to quit out of here. So it looks like the same thing, but it's slightly different in that Vue only allows you to look at a file. It doesn't allow you to change it. So we do have that. It's not that different. And so the advantage of Vue is that it prevents you from inadvertently changing a file that you are viewing. So that's a good thing about Vue. Vedit we don't have. You can try looking for it. All you have to do is type in Vedit, and it says it's not found. Did you mean some of these other things? So we'll just leave it at that. So we do have Vue, don't have Vedit. So let's move on to some other features of VI. Okay, so one of the first things you want to know is that the editor has two basic modes of operation. It's either in command mode or in text mode. So when you start the VI editor, it comes up in command mode. That is, it's ready for commands. You can type in commands and you can make changes and things like that. So anytime, anything that you enter when you start a VI, you're executing commands. You're not going to change the text because you're not in a mode where you can change the text. So let me just go a little bit forward. You have to explicitly get into text input mode to make changes to the text. So you enter this text input mode, and after that, characters that you type on the keyboard will appear in your text. Okay, so those are the two main modes: command mode and text input mode. And let's stop over here. Have a go with VI, try a few things out, and then have a look at this next part of the VI editor.